Right, guys, let's talk about the carnage that's currently going on in the markets, and particularly with regards to Bitcoin and crypto. And let's look at the astrology to see if we can get some extra info that can help us maneuver and navigate this turmoil that currently exists in the markets. All right, so it's a pretty hard moment right now in the markets. We're seeing crashes everywhere. The stock markets are going down very significantly, and Bitcoin and all alts are following in almost direct correlation and correspondence there. So the narrative that existed for some time that Bitcoin would be a hedge against the traditional market volatility, it's not playing out. At least on the face of it, doesn't look like it at all. Maybe that's due to the big players with the ETFs, the BlackRocks and the Vanguards of the world now being heavily invested in Bitcoin, and obviously they look at Bitcoin as part of their general portfolio and their general kind of allocations that they have as just a small part of, the trillions of dollars that they're allocating, and they won't give it a special status like that. But nonetheless, there is some hope when we look at the charts. It's a mixed picture. It's a mixed picture when we look at the charts. So let's go and see what the charts actually say. Okay, so the fact that we are seeing this breakdown right now, this carnage right now, this is not really, surprising, not that surprising. If you look at my video that I did around Jupiter and Gemini, I talked very clearly about this whole year of Jupiter and Gemini being marked by this major square that we have here with Jupiter squaring Saturn. And this is the most traditional marker that any astrologer will tell you. Jupiter square Saturn. It's, the traditional picture or the traditional constellation that stands for a contraction of markets, right? So the whole rhythm of the market is Jupiter and Saturn. The main rhythm, Jupiter is expansion, Saturn is contraction. And then when they square, then you have the contracting and limiting force of Saturn holding back Jupiter, right? So I already said this in that video, in the Jupiter Gemini video, that we're going to have a whole year of economic crisis and contraction, right? This is for the wider economy. This is for the wider economy, and now it's starting to play out. So we're going to see this is coming into exact aspect right now at the beginning of August. It's starting, right? And then it's coming into exact aspect in the middle, in the late August. Here you see August 18. We've got this here exact now, right? They're both at 17, at the 18th degree of their respective signs. And then it's kind of going to stay there for some time, right? So this is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term correction, and we will, we're very likely to see a global recession as well. This is going to lead to a global recession because we have a whole year, just to show you here how this goes on. So we have a whole year of this square. You see, this is in December 24. We still have this square here, okay? And then, they go out of aspect and they come in again towards next year. This is kind of in the end of the sign. They're gonna come back together one more time for a square. Jupiter is gonna be a little bit slow and then gonna catch up. And then you see here, they're gonna come back together for a last square in summer, right? Here in summer of 25. See, this is to June 25. So these are the three moments that we see here, right? Where the square is exact, right? It's now in August, then it's in December of 24, and then it's in June of 25, where the square is exact. But before and after that, around the margins, we still have the whole time basically the square in effect, right? So this is why we can say that the economy as such, the larger, macro image, the macro economy basically is definitely going to see a recession and the contraction, right? Where it's very typical for Jupiter-Saturn. And that's also necessary and cyclical. There's nothing absolutely crazy about that. You don't even need crazy events to happen. And there can be a lot of crazy events. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Wars escalating and so on and so forth. But now what's interesting for us here is, what is the correlation with crypto? Does this mean that, if the markets crash now, stock markets go down, does that mean that the crypto market is also just going to crash and the bull market is over and that's it? There's no alt season this year. Alt season is called off, no bull market, and we can all go home and wait for 4 years or whatever the case may be. Is that going to happen? And that's very, very unlikely, obviously, right? So because crypto still, even though the correlation is so strong right now, and it is very, very strong, we can see this, even though the correlation is so strong, crypto still has its own dynamic, right? And its own dynamic is, as I've shown in previous videos, is to do with Uranus, right? It's to do with Uranus. It's all about what Uranus does. And I also said in my previous Bitcoin video that Uranus being on Algol, the star Algol, which is in the 25th, 26th degree of Taurus here, it's conjunct Uranus right now. This is very negative. This is very negative for Bitcoin, for crypto, because this means like nefarious forces are trying to come in, and dark influences, nefarious influences, manipulation, basically market manipulation, tons of market manipulation going on behind the scenes, right? A lot of shady stuff is going to be going on right now behind the scenes, and we're not going to see the real power of the market, of where Bitcoin could go otherwise. If you look at Plan B, for instance, with the stock to flow model and so on, this is just purely, this is just a pure pattern based on the pattern logic itself, right? But that doesn't happen in reality because we have all these other forces. There's other cycles as well, and there's other forces impacting it's not just the pure logic of Bitcoin itself, right? There's other forces impacting. And right now we have a lot of those dark forces impacting as well. But what does this mean for Bitcoin, right? Does it mean we're going to go down only? Or is there some light at the end of the tunnel? Is there some hope, right? And there is some hope, right? There is some hope. And what is this hope all about? Let's have a look at where we're going next, and I can tell you. Okay, so right now we're going into this square, right, with Jupiter-Saturn again, right? This is the big thing for the economy. The whole economy is going to suffer, right? Unfortunately. Now, what does Uranus do in the same time? Uranus, it is kind of moving over Algol, still over that malicious influence. But then, towards the end of August, we're starting to get a very interesting thing is happening. Namely, we're starting to get this talent triangle, as it's called, this small triangle here, where we're getting these beautiful, harmonious forces coming in from Pluto and from Neptune. You see here? These two, they're coming into Uranus. Okay, what does that mean? Pluto is going to go back to Capricorn, and that means powerful heads of state, right? The machinations and activities of powerful heads of state. And Neptune in Pisces, Neptune is super strong in Pisces, right? Neptune is kind of this nebulous, miraculous stuff that somehow happens and you don't even know what happened, but somehow things turn out in a way that can be good for you, right? When Neptune is positive, right? When it's negative, it's deception, right? But when it's positive, it's this kind of nebulous way of how things miraculously turn out well. And this energy, we're going to see basically heads of state making big decisions, power decisions, right? We see or not see, this could be behind the scenes, right? Not necessarily something we see. But the effect will be that these big decisions, here Pluto, right, in Capricorn, together with some seemingly miraculous events, right? Seemingly miraculous events are going to give a lot of relief to Uranus, to Bitcoin, right? Uranus rules Bitcoin, as I've shown, as I've proven astrologically, right? Uranus rules Bitcoin. So this constellation, end of September, this is in, right? This is going to give a lot of relief, and I can see here the potential for Bitcoin and the crypto markets to start here, especially here in September. There's one other factor that I have to talk about that I discovered, and I think nobody else has talked about this before, but I discovered this and I need to share this with you. And that other factor, barring that factor, which I'll come back to in a second, barring that one factor, right? We are going to see with this constellation, we are going to see a big relief, a relief rally, So first in August, yeah, we're going to go down together with the rest of the market, right? And, I don't know, the levels. I can't tell you the levels, but yeah, there's a lot of negative pressure. Definitely a lot of negative pressure, right? I can't predict the levels in any meaningful way because I'm looking at symbols. The charts are only showing me symbols. They're not giving me that quantitative information to be able to tell you levels, right? Or exact numbers. But you need to look at, quantitative analysis for that, if you want to get some more, TA or whatever whatever you have to look at the different, support levels and so on so you see what the levels are. But there's pressure downward, right? And then in September, you see starts this magical relief, miraculous relief. You see this miraculous relief. This is this miraculous relief. And also, I mentioned before, this is also going to strengthen the narratives around Metaverse, GameFi, anything to do with virtual worlds and crypto. Virtual worlds and crypto. You're going to see some of those things pop up, right? So it might be worth this is no investment advice. All of this is just like entertainment purposes, right? And, you got to do your own research and all the rest of it. But I would look at, I will personally look at some GameFi Metaverse coins, right? Maybe some little undiscovered ones and so on for that time period, right? Because there's going to be a relief rally around that time is what I'm expecting, is what I'm seeing from the constellations. Now, when does that start? And is it going to get very bad before it starts? Are we going to go all the way to 40K? Are we going to go really down? Is it going to be like a horrible kind of crash, right? And in order to answer that, there's one more factor that we need to take into account, as I said before. And I haven't seen anybody talk about this, right? It's not like I follow a lot of crypto astrologers. I'm just doing the astrology mostly for my own crypto and for my own portfolio, and I share it with you guys so you have maybe some use in it as well. But there's one factor, and that's the placement of the asteroid Satoshi. Okay, the asteroid Satoshi, right? The asteroid Satoshi is quite important. And it's not, I haven't seen a lot of people look into this. I'm going to show you this right now. You can see here, this is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we had in April. And as you know, this coincided with a big push, we had the early all-time high in March, and we had like a, very euphoric time for crypto in April, March, and that was all about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, it was in a trine to Satoshi. Here's Satoshi. I just kind of, went over it here with my marker, but that's where it is, right? Satoshi, you can see here, Satoshi was in a trine to Jupiter-Uranus, okay? So this was a really nice placement. Satoshi, the asteroid Satoshi, I believe, as far as I've seen, it is correlated with Bitcoin performance, right? Or with crypto market performance, generally speaking. And now, where are we now? Right now, as you can see, Satoshi was already here, kind of getting close to Pluto. And now, where are we? We are in a situation where, you can see this here, where Satoshi is now exactly conjunct Pluto and also retrograde, okay? It's retrograde right now. So it's going back, and it's going retrograde not just on any place, it's going retrograde on Pluto, okay? Here you see here, Satoshi is retrograde, right? And it's retrograde on Pluto, okay? On Pluto, obviously, so the Pluto here is about the powerful states, heads of state, the powerful state actors, right, that are kind of interfering and that are, that want power over the crypto domain, which is also ruled by Aquarius, right? And Satoshi is currently going retrograde on the power. It's currently completely under control. So there's some big manipulation going on in the background. There's some big battle going on between heads of state right now. And definitely what you see on the surface with Trump and Kamala Harris taking like very different positions on crypto, right? Trump saying like, we're going to buy crypto and stuff, we're going to support it. And Kamala Harris and her team and everybody, you know, Janet Yellen, whatever, all those people, obviously they just want to crack down and bring down crypto. And all of that is just the surface. Behind the scenes, there's going to be some really big power struggles right now going on with the states, right? With people like with Putin and Xi Jinping and the states and the European Union and everybody there. There's just some big power struggles going on right now, which involve BlackRock and everybody that we don't even see necessarily, right? They're below the surface, but they are going to be impacting currently very hard and very negatively crypto, right? The crypto markets. And how long is this going to go on? So we are in September. I'm going to show you here. In September, we're still here, right? Satoshi is still going to be with Pluto in September. This is early September, okay? Early September. And Satoshi is still here because it's retrograde. And it's, you know, this, even though I talked about that miraculous relief and relief rally, I think that this factor will be counteracting it, right? And it doesn't look good. But then after, when we go to October, you see here in October, this is October, early October, and here Satoshi comes out. Satoshi comes out of Pluto, right? It's not anymore there in that conjunction with Pluto, right? But you even here you can see this beautiful triangle that we have, this talent triangle. You can see this here. See this talent triangle that we have, which is impacting Uranus, right? So the powers that be and miraculous sudden, you know, miraculous developments of ease and goodness, basically, right? They are impacting the innovation that we see through Uranus in the crypto space. And this is going to lead to a relief rally and a big kind of, I hope to see as well, but I think there is a lot of reason to have this hope and have this expectation that we're going to see the crypto markets recover and show that actually they can be a hedge against the traditional markets going down, because the traditional markets will still continue to look pretty bad for the coming time, right? Okay, so this is the prognosis. This is the outlook for the next couple of months. To recap, August, we're going down, and you know, we might go down a lot because the overall markets are going down. I showed you the correlations there and, you know, the expectations that we all had with the Jupiter-Saturn. But then, you know, once we get out of that retrograde that Satoshi is in, and especially once we get into that kind of miraculous constellation, right, where we're going to see a lot of relief. This is from September, October, especially starts in September, but then in October it's going to be very, very much on, right? Then we can see, I think, the next leg of the bull market going on. The bull market is not over. It's not going to be over anytime soon. And, you know, don't believe the hype if you hear it here and there. Don't believe the fear that's going to go around. It's very typical. There's always going to be fear at these times. And we might even go much lower still in the coming weeks in August, which doesn't look good at all. But that being said, there is brighter constellations ahead of time, you know, ahead of us. So let's look forward to those, and let's maneuver intelligently and smartly until we get there. Now, make sure you subscribe to this channel and like it and follow and so on. Also follow me on X. I'm going to be much more active on X. I'm going to give you the handle on X, and I'll put it here in the video the whole time so you see it. Make sure you follow me on X. There's going to be much more alpha, much more direct kind of info. I just started to do X now after many, many years of leaving it dormant, but I'm going to be very active there. So I'll see you on there, and I wish you all the best. Take care.